All right. Kicking it off with the breath. What's up, guys? Today, we're talking about the breath. All about the breath. So to start, it's always good to put this into practice. Just want you to sit up tall, take a moment, maybe put your phone down. Just let your hands rest. You could put them on top of your thighs, or you could just lay them top of your hand inside your palm, right there in your lap. Just let your arms relax. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Feel it all the way up to the top. Take a sip at the top. Hold it. And let it go. We're going to do that 2 more times. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Feel it all the way up to the top. Sip at the top. Hold it. And let it all go. Take one more deep breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs. All the way up. Sip it at the top. Hold it. And just let that one go. Just breathe normal, in your nose and out your nose. Tune in, see where you're at. Nice job. So there's a lot to talk about here. Talking about the breath. First of all, the breath is our natural born mechanism for modulating our nervous system, modulating the function of our nervous system. The breath and the nervous system are interconnected very profoundly. It's really a miracle of the universe, of nature, that our physiology functions the way it does, and in particular, how our nervous system and our breath are so woven together. So, to start, anytime you feel overwhelmed, you feel tired, you feel anxious, you feel low, you feel sad, depressed, any mood that's outside the realm of clarity, energy, uplifted, encouraged, you can always tune to your breath for a quick and easy and efficient way to change your brain chemistry. But just like that, just like we just did right there. You find yourself in a crowded room, at work, sitting at your desk, you can always tune to your breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And let it all out your mouth. So when we're talking about the nervous system, the 2 main things to be aware of is, as most of us know, you've got the fight or flight system. We've got the sympathetic nervous system. It's a totally natural and necessary aspect of our being to have this survival component built into our nervous system. Back in the day, we were out in the wild, we come into contact or in the parameter, in the vicinity of a predator, you want to be able to snap into a fight or flight response so that you can survive that situation. You can get yourself out of danger, I'm gonna wait until this garbage truck passes. So our nervous system functions at and in between two poles. Okay, there's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous state. The sympathetic nervous state, fight, flight, freeze, fix, very necessary and natural. We need this. It's done us a lot of good in the evolution of our species. It's probably done us a lot of good throughout the journey of our life, getting us out of danger, helping us live to see another day. You want to be able to have that fight or flight response when you're in the midst of a dangerous situation. Thousands of years ago, we were out in the wild primarily. It was super beneficial to have this mechanism inside of us that when we were in the vicinity of a predator or a threat, we were able to just naturally, our body starts pumping adrenaline and cortisol, the amygdala starts firing, the center of fight, flight, freeze, fix, the reptilian brain, that's your survival, that's the survival aspect of our brain where all of that stuff lives, is in the amygdala. So the fight or flight, freeze response ignites, we get into survival mode where it's a reactionary state. So we run away, we climb the tree, our blood thickens, our blood vessels constrict, so if we get into a fight and we're cut in a crucial artery or vein, we don't bleed to death. So all of this stuff, we want that to be working at its best, at its optimal function, to be able to have that. However, in today's day and age, where we're not constantly in the midst of a life and death situation, our nervous system still perceives challenges, adversity, difficult situations, an email from our boss, a confrontation with a friend or a relative as a life or death situation. And that rarely, if ever, serves us to be in that reactionary state when we come into a simple, everyday moment where it would best suit us if we were able to respond with clarity, with integrity, rather than reacting out of fear, anger, etc. Okay, so the breath is our natural born mechanism for modulating our nervous system. So think about this. You get into that life or death situation. We're talking purely from a natural standpoint here. What our ancestors were dealing with, living out in the wild, having to deal with threats, be that a predator or a rival tribe, whatever it might have been, a situation that was a life and death situation. All of a sudden our adrenaline starts pumping, our heart starts racing, we start secreting cortisol, we start breathing in and out of our mouth. We need more oxygen. You get into that reactionary fight, flight, freeze, fix. You're in survival mode. You're able to move and act swiftly and usually unconsciously. So today, because none of us have really been taught how to breathe in modern society, many of us, because of the things we've experienced as children, the traumas, the pain, be it physical, mental, emotional, that we've experienced throughout our lives, that leaves us in a perpetual state of fight, flight, freeze, and fix. That means our nervous system has been toned to be in that survival mode. And this is by no fault of our own. This is what our body does, what our brain does, what our nervous system does to keep us alive and well. However, as most of us know, like I said, it doesn't serve us when we're in the board meeting or we're in a conversation with our family member or our friend and something is said that we disagree with, and we get into, all of a sudden, that fight, flight response starts to kick into gear, and we're reacting out of anger, fear, etc. So just by breathing in and out of our nose, just by doing that alone, not talking about any specific breathwork exercise, just by breathing in and out of our nose, we quiet down the amygdala and you turn on the prefrontal cortex, the center of executive decision making, the Godhead. So if you're someone who experiences anxiety or panic attacks, a fundamental tool in your tool belt must be, as soon as you feel that panic starting to come on and you know what that feeling is, immediately turn to your breath. Start breathing deep and slow in your nose, and you can let it go out your mouth, but primarily in your nose and out your nose to start to immediately quiet down that fight or flight response that's kicked into gear because of a word that was uttered or a sensation that came over you that's sending you back into this trauma hole in your being. Okay, so just by breathing in and out of our nose, and like I said, most of us none of us have been taught how to breathe properly or the importance of proper breathing mechanics in the modern world. And so many of us are walking around breathing in and out of our mouth. And when you're stepping out into the world and you've spent moment by moment, day in and day out, breathing in and out of your mouth, your nervous system is already peaked. It's already toned into that fight or flight realm. So no matter what you come into contact with, you're going to always be in this reactionary state until you start to make the decision in your living practice of breathing in and out of your nose. So there's a lot more that's going on when you're breathing in and out of your nose. So going back to the beginning, our nervous system functions at and in between these two poles. There's sympathetic state, parasympathetic state. Sympathetic state, fight, flight, freeze, fix. Parasympathetic state, rest, digest, recover, detoxify, reproduce. So think about this. Just about everything you do in your life outside of keeping yourself alive happens at its most optimal pathway in the parasympathetic state. So when we're walking around in this perpetual state of fight, flight, freeze, fix, your body is incapable of doing anything else. It's incapable of resting, regenerating, digesting food, reproduction. Everything gets turned off but the survival mode, the survival mechanism. And like I said, part of that survival mechanism that's built into our nervous system is our blood vessels constrict and circulation slows. Your blood pressure goes up. So not only is your amygdala firing and you're in this psychologically reactive state, your consciousness lowers, you go into this unconscious survival mode, but your muscles, your organs, your tissues are not getting blood circulated to them. They're getting deprived of oxygen, which leads to injury, which leads to deterioration of joints, bones, muscles, ligaments, tendons, which leads to all sorts of issues. Digestion gets shut off. Your body isn't digesting food. So imagine if you're in this constant state of fight or flight, you've got this low hum of fear and anxiety, stress, tension in your body. Inflammation occurs. All sorts of dis-ease takes place. So the importance of breath goes far beyond anything that we could really possibly imagine. And it is as simple as when you breathe properly, you live well. You limit and eliminate dis-ease in your body just by breathing properly in your nose and out your nose, primarily. Now there will be times when you're exercising and you'll go past that point of oxygen deprivation where you'll need to breathe in and out of your mouth, and that's a different thing. That's a purposeful moment of mouth breathing. But when we're walking around in our day-to-day life, it's really important that we breathe in and out of our nose. Okay, so talking a little bit more about the breath, now your lungs have 3 lobes. Okay, there's a lower, a middle, and an upper lobe. And each of the lobes of your lungs are connected to your brain via the 10th cranial nerve, your vagus nerve, in a very specific way. So the lower lobe of your lungs is actually directly linked to the amygdala. So when we're able to breathe deep into our lower lungs, we can quiet down, we can modulate and tone the function of the amygdala. So all of this, all of the breath work, breath is the fundamental tool for toning the nervous system, for developing resilience in the nervous system, for stabilizing the nervous system, and for allowing the nervous system to function fluidly as it was designed to do. So there's always an opportunity, there's always the chance that we're going to experience suffering, we're going to experience difficulty, pain, be it physical, mental, emotional. Now, the trick is, are we walking around in our day-to-day life as that wounded individual? Which means that our nervous system is simply locked in that state of trauma. So think about this. Out on the African savanna, a gazelle is chased by a lion. Now, when that gazelle gets away from the lion, they find safety, they make their way to safety in their natural fight or flight response. They find their way to safety. Maybe they find their way to a shady spot under a tree. They lay down for a minute. Their breathing slows. They're connected directly to the earth. Their nervous system comes down. They merge back into the parasympathetic state, rest, digest, recover, detoxify. They're not walking around as the gazelle that was chased by the lion, that was hunted by the lion and got away. They're not walking around carrying that trauma with them. And all of us have experienced trauma to one degree or another. Now, it becomes our responsibility in the service of our life, for ourselves and those around us, it becomes our responsibility that we do everything we can to heal that trauma, to heal those wounds, which essentially comes down to psychological reconciliation and physiological modulation, which is reprogramming your nervous system back into a state of homeostasis, a state of balance. Because, like I said, we want to be able to move from one side of the spectrum to the other. The fight or flight response is a key component to our life experience. Rest, digest, recover, a key component to our life experience. We never want to cut ourselves off from one part of the spectrum or another. Okay? So, coming back to the anatomy of the lungs. The lungs are directly linked to the brain via the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, 10th cranial nerve, it's the super highway of information that links your brain to all of your vital organs, lungs, heart, digestive organs, liver, kidneys, etc. Now, when we breathe properly and we're physically active, we keep the vagus nerve toned, which means we keep that channel of communication as clear and open as it can possibly be, which allows for a greater state of well-being, greater health in the physical body. Now, there's a lot going on in the chest cavity between the lungs and the heart and also the diaphragm. So all of these things work synergistically together. And when one is out of place, or there's dis-ease or inflammation, or something's out of alignment, that causes all sorts of issues with the other components. So getting back to the lungs, your lungs have this lower lobe connected to the amygdala. On the left side, there's no middle lobe, but there are these tubes. Now, when you breathe in, you take in oxygen. When you breathe out, you empty your lungs of oxygen. The heart pumps blood into the lungs, fills the lung tissue with blood, so that then when you breathe in again, you oxygenate that blood. On your exhale, you empty the air, all the stuff that your body doesn't need, you empty all of that out, and your heart then takes that blood that was just oxygenated by the lungs and it circulates it around the body. Gets oxygen and nutrients to everywhere that needs it in your body. So when we're breathing shallow, we're breathing high up in our chest, in and out of our mouth, we're not absorbing the nutrients and the oxygen that to the optimal level that we need to get them in. B, when you breathe in and out of your nose, there are all these little hairs in your nose and in your sinuses. And there's this whole labyrinth maze that the air passes through before it goes down into your lungs. Now, that's important because all these little hairs in this labyrinth pathway that the air has to travel through before it gets to your lungs, all of the stuff that we don't want is being filtered out. It's being caught in these little hairs. So then your lungs are getting the purest, most oxygen-rich air that they can be filled with. When we're breathing in and out of our mouth, it leads to immune system issues because you're taking in the pollutants and all the stuff in the air that we don't want to get in. There's no filter. You're breathing without a filter. In a great book by this guy James Nestor, which I highly recommend, called Breath, he discusses all of this stuff. He discusses all of this stuff in great detail, and one of the things he says is if you're breathing in and out of your mouth, it's like breathing with your lungs outside of your body. So your lungs are subject to all the stuff, all the bacteria, the viruses, the microbial stuff that we don't want coming into our body. It's just like you're putting it right into the lungs. So just by breathing in and out of your nose, you eliminate that and provide your lungs with the purest, most oxygen-rich air that you can take in. So, also, breathing in and out of your mouth, maybe I mentioned this earlier, but breathing in and out of your mouth, it's like hitting the panic button on your nervous system. We talked about that earlier. You're in this life or death situation, you're in the vicinity of a predator, all of a sudden adrenaline kicks in, cortisol kicks in. That all starts with the breath. So, when we're walking around just unconsciously breathing in and out of our mouth, we're just constantly pumping adrenaline and cortisol, which makes our body, our physiology think, our brain think that we're in a life or death situation. When you're in a life or death situation, your nervous system is tuned to fight, flight, freeze, fix. It's incapable of doing anything else, regenerating cells, digesting food, reproducing, thinking, clear cognitive function, executive decision making, etc. None of that stuff is possible when you're in fight or flight. So when you think about that and all the mechanisms of the body slow down, circulation slows down, digestion slows down, your body's ability to process toxins and things that you would normally want to be able to get rid of, disease occurs, issues with your immune system occur, heart issues, all sorts of things happen. I might have said that already, but we're coming back to it because it's really a key component of this, and it's truly this simple. Like the breath is the fundamental element of generating total well-being in your body. It's why I'm a big believer in it. Take meditation out of my life, take yoga out of my life, I will always do breath work. I start every single morning with 10 minutes of breath work. So we're going to get into a little bit more of that now. Now, like we did earlier, there's all sorts of ways to do breath work, all sorts of breathing exercises we can do. One of the most popular ones that's out there right now is an exercise called Tumo, which many of you might know as the Wim Hof method. Tumo was innovated by monks living in the Himalayas who had to endure incredible environmental difficulty. It heats up your core temperature. It warms the body from the inside out. It alkalizes the body. It oxygenates the body. It turns on the brain. It modulates the nervous system. This is probably the best way I know of for loosening the grip of the subconscious programming that we all are victim to. We all become victim to the conditioning that we've experienced from the time that we were children and onwards, before we were even capable or conscious of understanding that we were being programmed with these beliefs, these subconscious beliefs. Now, so in your subconscious lives the structure, the matrix of your perception. And so your breath is the best way that I know of, other than psychedelics, the best natural way that you have built into your physiology for you to slip beneath your conscious self into the subconscious to loosen the grip of your subconscious conditioning, your subconscious programming. And Tumo is a really powerful way to access suppressed fear. So Tumo is a really excellent way to access subconscious fear, subconscious beliefs, the subconscious belief matrix that is your perception of your reality. And it loosens the grip on that conditioning, that conditioning has on your perception. Okay, so Tumo goes like this. You can sit in a chair just like I am now. You can do it seated on the floor. I always like to have something underneath my hips, a cushion to get my hips above my knees. It can be really difficult for me to sit comfortably for long periods of time on the floor. That's what happens when you play 15 years of football. So you're just going to want to sit up tall, spine straight. Relax your belly, let your shoulders hang down away from your ears. Just get relaxed. Let all the musculature relax and have your spine nice and straight. So for Tumo, we're going to take a full inhale in through the nose. Think about breathing into your solar plexus. So by breathing into your solar plexus, you're tapping into the mechanism of your diaphragm. Really quick on the diaphragm. Your diaphragm is this sheet of muscle that separates your lungs and your heart from all of your digestive organs. Okay? The diaphragm, when it's functioning properly, it's very malleable. When you take an inhale, the diaphragm, when you take an inhale, the diaphragm pulls down. Okay? That pulling down action, it allows the lungs to expand. It also acts as a pump on the digestive organs, on your stomach, which there's a lot of gray matter in your gut. There's perhaps more gray matter in your gut than there is in your brain. More neurons in your gut. Talk about the gut feeling, your gut sense, the gut-brain axis. All of this stuff is physiologically, scientifically has been proven. Now, when your diaphragm's functioning properly, when your breathing mechanics are proper, Your diaphragm, when you take an inhale, flexes down and it acts like a pump on all that gray matter in your gut. 80% of your happiness hormones, serotonin, dopamine, tryptophan, are all created in your gut. Now, when we've experienced trauma, we've experienced an injury, once again, be it physical, mental, emotional, did you know that your brain, your mind-body organism does not know the difference between a physical happening and a mental, emotional occurrence or repetition or experience as far as your nervous system goes. So if you experience mental or emotional abuse, that feels like a physical occurrence. That can still feel like something that happened to you on a physical level, and your body reacts accordingly. Now, the diaphragm is a super sensitive tissue, part of your body. And so when you've experienced pain, it's also right there at the solar plexus. This is the center of your power, center of self-worth, center of right to be. So when you've experienced any sort of trauma, the physical manifestation of that is that your diaphragm gets affected. And how your diaphragm gets affected is it gets locked in place. It gets frozen in place to protect the heart, protect the lungs, protect the self. Okay? So, breathing properly, coming back to the breath, breathing properly, and in particular when you're doing this Tumo exercise, it's a great opportunity to access the diaphragm and to reorganize the function of it. You want to breathe into your solar plexus. Imagine big chest on the inhale, breathing into the solar plexus to really accentuate the expansion of the lungs and to get that to mobilize the diaphragm so that it's functioning properly. So when you're taking that inhale in, the diaphragm flexes down. It presses down on all that gray matter in your gut. When you press down and you compress that gray matter in your gut, you're optimizing the secretion of all your happiness hormones. You're optimizing the fluids, the malleability of all of your tissues in there that are so key and vital to your overall well-being, mental, emotional, physical well-being. So we take that inhale in Tumo. Inhale, full breath in, big chest into the solar plexus. Exhale, round your spine, compress your abdominal muscles, squeeze it all out. It's a full exhale out. It's vigorous. It's strong. You're emptying your lungs quickly. Now we're doing this action in the nose, out the mouth, 20 to 30 times, and you can take this as you will. Most intense breath work ceremonies or programs, classes, you're going to do maybe 50 to 60 breaths in the nose, out the mouth. But for a daily practice, it's super beneficial to get 20 to 30 breaths in the nose, out the mouth. Now we're doing this action in, big chest, out, round the spine. That's also, we're tuning into, we're activating, we're getting into the vagus nerve. So like I said, any opportunity we have to tone and activate the vagus nerve, we're increasing the function, we're optimizing the function of our mind-body connection, of our brain, body, nervous system, organ, circulatory system connection. All the stuff that's interconnected and woven together that comes together to serve you and your overall well-being. This is the fundamental practice. So here we go. Let's do some Tumo. We're going in the nose, big chest into the solar plexus. Get that diaphragm mobilized. Exhale out the mouth. We're going to do for this, we're going to do 25 breaths in the nose, out the mouth. Let it be free. Let yourself be fluid. Your body breathes all day, every day. It was built to breathe. Your lungs also, they function on what's known as the bellows effect, which is a vacuum effect. That's why your lungs really function on the autonomic nervous system, which means if you pass out, you go unconscious, your lungs will automatically breathe for you. When they're empty, they want to fill with air. When they're full of air, they want to get empty. They're constantly in this mode, and that's reflexive in the functionality of the lungs. Okay, so just get into that, feel into that as you're doing this exercise. Okay, so here we go. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Let it all out. Oh, before we get started, I should say, okay, so we're going to do 25 breaths in the nose, out the mouth. On the 25th breath, we're going to blow it all out, empty your lungs completely. We're going to hold it out for about 30 seconds. Once again, if you're in a more intensive breath work experience, this hold can be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes and beyond. For this, for the daily practice, a 30-second hold out is totally beneficial and works wonders. Okay, so after the 25th breath, you're going to empty all the air out of your mouth, and you're going to hold it out for a count of 30 seconds. After that 30 seconds is up, I'll give you the cue. We're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. Feel it all the way up. Sip it at the top. Hold it. And then let it go. That hold in is going to be for about 10 seconds. Again, these times can vary. I'm giving you the lowest effective dose for breath work. This is stuff you can do every single day. I do this every morning when I wake up. Okay, so let's give it a shot. 25 breaths in and out. Hold out for a count of 30 seconds. Then we're going to take a deep breath in, fill the lungs all the way up at the top, sip it at the top, hold it in for a count. Then we're going to let it all go. That's one set. You can do 3 to 5 sets. You can do this as much as you like. I recommend 3 to 5 sets in the morning. Great way to fire up your nervous system. Great way to blow the cobwebs out. Get the mind firing. Get clarity. Center and stabilize your nervous system. Prepare you to have a great day. Okay, here we go. Tumo. Take a deep breath in. Let it all go. And begin. In the nose, out the mouth. Blow it all out. Empty your lungs completely out of your mouth and hold it out. Take a deep breath in, fill it up all the way to the top. Sip it at the top. Hold it. And let it all go. Just let everything go. All the tension in your body, let all the air go out. Just breathe normal in your nose and out your nose. Just tune in, feel how that feels. Feel the sense of calm. Feel the sense of clarity. Whatever it is that's come up for you, whatever's alive right here, right now. Maybe it feels really intense. Maybe you have tingling sensations in your arms and your hands. Just notice it. Great job. So this is a terrific breathing exercise, before competition. You can do this before a meeting. Just get clear, centered, stabilized, locked in on the moment really quickly. That was about a minute and a half. Like I said, I do 3 to 5 sets of that each morning. It's been a life-changing practice for me. So before we go, I want to introduce you to a handful of other breathing exercises that are super beneficial for various moments in your day. Okay, so not only can we use the breath to energize us, to turn on the nervous system, to turn on the brain, to get us warmed up and activated for any sort of activity, but we can also use the breath. Like I said, it's our natural born mechanism in our physiology to modulate the nervous system, to energize you when you need to come up, to calm you when you need to come down. So one of the most potent antidepressant, anti-anxiety practices that you can possibly incorporate into your day, into your life, is the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. Okay, this is the 4-7-8 breathing exercise is an ancient yogic practice. And what it looks like is this. Slow 4-second inhale in through the nose. So you go in through the nose. Hold it for a count of 7. Exhale out the mouth for a count of 8. And then back in the nose for 4. Out. This immediately calms your nervous system. The long exhale sends a signal to your nervous system that you're in a resting phase. This is great to use before bed at night when you're winding down from your day. This is great if you ever feel This is a great exercise if you feel anxious or overwhelmed, like there's too much going on in your life. You could take 5 minutes and just do the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. 4 seconds in, a 7-second hold, 8-second long exhale out. Now on the exhale, know that if you get to 5-6 seconds on your exhale and you feel like you're totally empty, that's normal. And part of the process is tuning in to this experience of slowing down your breath to the point that it's a steady, slow exhale for 8 seconds. Okay? In the beginning, when you find yourself in those moments where you've got to exhale for 8 seconds, you feel like you're totally empty at 4 or 5, just continue the practice of squeezing and exhaling all the air out of your lungs until you find that happy medium. And you find the timing with the breath. So 4-7-8, fantastic breathing exercise for calming the nervous system, for managing depression and anxiety. It puts any pharmaceutical drug to absolute shame. You don't need any of that. All you need is your breath. So the next one, great way to wake yourself up if you don't necessarily have the time to go through an entire Tumo exercise, Take long inhale in through the nose for about 6 seconds. Looks like this, in the nose. Quick exhale out of the mouth. You could do that 10 to 12 repetitions. That's a great one for in the morning to wake yourself up, get your mind turned on, shake out the sleepiness, and get activated for your day. Key components, key things to remember when you're thinking about your breath. There's always an opportunity to breathe slower and deeper. Whenever you feel like life's moving too fast for you, come back to your breath. It'll bring you right back to center, no matter where you find yourself. There's always an opportunity to slow it down in the breath. It's always a good thing to take deeper breaths. So once again, thinking about breathing into the lower lungs. So when you think about breathing into your lower lungs, you're using the full capacity of your anatomy. Okay? You're toning the nervous system. You're creating resiliency in your nervous system. You're mobilizing the diaphragm. You're using your body to cultivate a deep sense of well-being in yourself. Okay? Long exhale out, always the best way to calm your nervous system. If you're like me and you've dealt with a lifetime of panic attacks, anxiety, there's no better medicine than your breath. And not only are you going to remedy the anxiety attacks, the panic attacks as they occur through using your breath, you are going to tone your nervous system. You're going to stabilize your nervous system in a way that long term you develop a greater foundation of peace and well-being. That means that anxiety, that panic, it gets less and less. The occurrences become less and less. It becomes quieter and quieter, and it improves your overall quality of life. Try it out. Experiment with it. Have fun with it. Great books to read on breath. James Nestor's book, Breath. Highly recommend it. This should be required reading for all kids in schools. Highly recommend that book. You could also read Wim Hof's book on breath, how the deeper actions of your physiology and how the breath is the ultimate modulator for your nervous system and all the functionality of your body. He's got some miraculous stories in there. You can also check out my book, The Ebb and Flow Basic Tools to Transform Your Life. I offer you super basic, accessible practices, techniques that you can use right here, right now, today to change your life for the better. One of my favorite apps on the planet, app called Breathwork. Breath, B-R-E-A-T-H, work, W-R-K, all one word. That app is fantastic. They've got numerous exercises, practices from energizing, calming, nighttime, recovery, everything you could possibly need. Have fun with it. Check it out. That's about it, y'all. Do it. Feel it. This is your birthright, to breathe. It's one of the most natural things we do. We do it without even thinking about it. Now, when you breathe with intention, you breathe consciously, you can literally transform your life for the better. Lots of love to you. Peace.